Hi, my name is Angelica, and this is the Angelica Unfiltered channel, where I talk about health, wellness, weight loss, but mostly fat acceptance. I beat my face way too good today because I was filming some outfit videos for my other channel, so I thought I should come on here and film a video for this channel as well, because I have a little bit of time to kill before my husband gets home. I have been doing some Fatlogic Reddit videos, so thought we could just go ahead and do those since I'm making this video on the fly and don't have anything prepared. And it seems like you really like these videos. So this one was posted 2 days ago. The caption says, "You are an enemy of fat people if you take GLP-1s." And this is another post from Tumblr. I'm starting to think that there is a very big fat acceptance community on Tumblr. Let me know if you think we should infiltrate it. Reading and speaking are not my strong suits, but let's try and get through this together. Why have a YouTube channel if I can't read or speak? I don't know. I'll have to answer that question later. So as you can probably imagine, a few of us in the plus size and body positive community, myself included, of course because you said us, which also includes you, not that I'm the grammar police or anything, have recently shared that we're starting or already on GLP-1 meds. And yes, it's caused quite the stir. I still consider myself a part of the community. I still believe in body autonomy, respect, and liberation at every size. But I've gotten some serious backlash, including from people and pages I've admired. So this is one part of 5, and then someone reshared this and added their own opinion, which is, if you are on them for weight loss, then no, you're actually an enemy of the community. So saying if you decide to lose weight, then you are an enemy of the body positive or plus size community. And we all know that body positivity was taken over from the fat acceptance community, so they've unfortunately been combined. So they're basically saying if you lose weight, you're an enemy of people in the plus size, fat acceptance, body positive communities. And so many people in the fat acceptance community, or I guess like those communities, they always preach bodily autonomy, and you know, they always say that they don't care about what other people do with their bodies, but the literal second someone decides to lose weight, they flip the fuck out. And I personally believe it is because they are triggered. You know, there's something in their psyche, their unconsciousness, that makes them so upset because it is something that they deeply want so bad, but they have brainwashed themselves to believing that they can't lose weight, and you know, that they're fat because of genetics, and 95% of diets fail, and blah blah blah, all the other stupid dumbass misinformation rhetoric that goes on in those communities. Everything that people in the fat acceptance community say is literal pure projection. They are jealous of people that lose weight, even though that they think that they are fat and sexy and they don't want to change and they're perfect the way they are. But they are so offended and triggered when someone decides to lose weight. And I understand like why everyone makes things about themselves, because you know, we live in this one body and it feels like the world is going on around us, so it's easy just to like internalize things and feel offended about things that like actually technically have nothing to do with you. But if you're truly happy with being obese and you see nothing wrong with being obese, and if you truly believe that everyone has the right to do anything with their body, you know, having bodily autonomy, then you wouldn't care if someone loses weight. But those people also think that losing weight is fat phobic, so then that kind of contradicts their beliefs. So they always feel like they almost have to speak up about people losing weight because it's fat phobic, even if it's for health. I don't know. I'm tired. I'm bored. They say the same shit over and over and over again. I could fight them in my sleep. You know, we talked about this so much in the comments in the 𝓌𝒽𝒶𝓉 Your Fat Friend documentary, but it's like, if someone is doing something for themselves, that's literally about them. That has nothing to do with you. In the Your Fat Friend documentary, it almost felt like every other fucking sentence. 𝓌𝒽𝒶𝓉 was like, you know, people say they want to lose weight, it's so they don't look like me. People say that they don't want to eat a piece of cake and gain weight because they don't want to look like me. They don't want to be my weight. It's like, no one is like literally thinking about you, 𝓌𝒽𝒶𝓉. Like, you are just making it seem like the whole world revolves around you, even though when someone sets out to have specific fitness goals, specific health goals, they're not thinking about you. They are thinking about themselves, their health, and their life. a majority of the time someone does something, those actions is a reflection upon themselves and their goals. It's not to be in spite of you. It's not to, I want to lose weight so I don't look like other fat people. People don't say, I want to lose weight so I'm not fat like Aubrey Gordon. Like, there are a lot of other factors that are going into people making these decisions, and a lot of it's like internal stuff. A lot of people were talking about this in the comments section about how Aubrey Gordon is always worried about external factors, or like worried about people judging her, and you know, a lot of people in the fat acceptance community do this too, and they're so scared of the critique or what people will say about them. And it's like, maybe people should want to lose weight and not be fat anymore because of how awful it is to be fat, not because of how people treat them, but because of how their joints hurt, or because how they're constantly exhausted, or because they are pre-diabetic. Like, there are so many fucking reasons to lose weight besides social pressures. I think probably like 99% of people that lose weight do it for personal reasons, not because of how society treats them. I don't know about y'all, but the voices going on in my head are a lot louder than the ones out here in the real world. What I think about myself, how I'm feeling, what my body is communicating to me is the loudest and, quite frankly, the most important. Alright, so this one is posted 2 days ago. It looks like it's a comment from Instagram, and it says, all the girls in the comment section being horrible, but they don't realize soon as they hit their, and they use the wrong there, second puberty, they will gain weight as well and get stretch marks. I'm not sure when a second puberty hits. In my opinion, probably they mean like adulthood, but that's not a second puberty. Like, there isn't any hormonal changes that happen. In my head, I'm thinking like college time or like after college time. Your hormones, like, nothing's going on. You're not having a second puberty. Most people gain a bunch of weight when they are an adult, when they get a full-time job, when they're sitting on their ass doing busy work all day for $15 an hour, when they are so fucking bored out of their mind at their office job that they go buy a pack of classic Lay's and peanut butter M&Ms and eat because they're bored, or because they're so much less active than they were when, you know, when they were in college or when they were in high school. It's not a second puberty. That's the consequences of your actions catching up on you. I'm not perfect. I gained a lot of weight right after college. Maybe I had a third puberty in COVID as well, because then that's when I gained a lot of weight as well. I may have had probably 6 or 7 puberties in my life, if puberty is what makes us fat, not the food that we eat or the lack of exercise or various other unhealthy habits we get. The mental gymnastics to defend a pure medical decision. There's 3 images in the slide. Gonna be good, girls. There's a difference between body positivity and fat liberation. I can understand the feeling of betrayal. Do we really expect former fat folks to fight for the rights and equality of fat folks once they've joined the privileged class? Guys, I can't. So there is a difference between body positivity and fat liberation. Fat liberation is about accepting fatness, and to my personal belief, like, promoting obesity or just like pretending being obese is fine when it's literally a disease. And body positivity was initially started to help, I guess, everyone, but I guess specifically women, to accept like their flaws or like things that they can't control, that they actually can't control, because we can control our weight. You gain weight because you shove too much fucking food down your throat. Body positivity is for people that have scars from being burned, or people losing their hair because of chemotherapy or alopecia, or, you know, disabled people trying to love themselves because, you know, that they look different than other people. Someone that has an amputation because from various different reasons, you know, things that like you literally actually cannot control. You know, I found out about the body positive community when I had my first and only outbreak of HSP vasculitis, and the small blood vessels in my legs started bleeding, and I got giant blisters from my ankles all the way to my knee, and it looked like my skin was falling off. So that movement, the body positivity movement, when it was still what it was supposed to be, was to help people accept the things that they cannot control. And fat liberation is accepting fatness and egging it on. So they're 2 different things, but the fat liberation, the fat acceptance movement has kind of ate body positivity, because the people in the fat acceptance movement pretend like they can't control their weight, so they stole the body positive movement. I still need to make a video about that, even though I think it would purely just be my feelings. Why would fat people fight for the rights and equality for fat folks when they've joined the privileged class? You know, talking about being thin is a privilege. Being thin is just a fact of fucking nature. Someone is thin because they eat the right amount of calories for their body. And I do believe that there is thin privilege and there is pretty privilege, and I do understand that fat people could be treated like shit because of their size, but being fat is not the same as being a minority, because at this point in time, 77% of Americans are overweight, 43% of them being obese. There are more fat people than there is thin people. The next sentence is, why work to dismantle the privileges of thinness they've worked and paid so much to gain? The thing is, like, the fat liberation, fat acceptance movement thinks that they're doing some sort of like actual advocacy, you know, like they think that they're gonna like change the whole entire world when it's just them fucking being fat and complaining on the internet. Like, they're not doing any protests, they're not contacting their local congressmen and women to fight and get bills changed. There are no laws that discriminate fat people or stop fat people from doing anything. Fat people have the same rights as thin people, as healthy weight people. Doesn't data show that those who have lost significant amount of weight tend to be more judgmental of fatness? I'm not sure what data they're speaking of, or if there's like a certain research that they're trying to cite, but I do, I mean, I'm still fucking obese. I'm 200 pounds, but since I've lost 70 pounds, since I've deconstructed the horseshit rhetoric that people in the fat acceptance community spew and what I once agreed with, and I am judgmental of people that choose to continue to be fat and get fatter and promote obesity or talk like it is fine to be obese or promote health at every size, because I know the truth, and I know that when I was in those movements for so long, I felt so fucking helpless and hopeless. So I do judge the people that still say all that stuff. Of course, I can hold space for them, and I hope that they can also leave the fat acceptance community and come back to reality like myself. But I have more judgment and less empathy for people that are fat acceptance celebrities, like Aubrey Gordon, Tess Holliday, or like Glitter and Laser, or people that have documented their fucking weight loss journey for over a decade, like Amberlynn Reed. These people, I think a lot of it comes from delusion and severe mental health problems, but they act like losing weight is literally impossible, and they convince their followers that as well. Alright, this video is gonna be like so fucking long. Can't even get over the third post without ranting. Next line says, and here's where I say I'm on a GLP-1 for weight loss. Let's see where this goes. I struggled with this decision immensely. I understand if you hate it. I kind of hate it. It feels in a part like Cabitulation. What the fuck? I was gonna ask if am I dumb, but I know I am, so.
Capitulation.
Capitulation. I've never heard of that word before. The act of surrendering or ceasing to resist an opponent or demand. Choosing to lose weight and take care of yourself is surrendering to the opponent. This is how fucking deluded people in the fat acceptance community are. They're holding up their white flag because they need to lose weight and take care of themselves. That is so fucking dramatic. I have my reasons. My blood pressure is going up. I assume that this person is probably reaching their 30s now, because it's so much easier to be healthy and promote health at every size and pretend like obesity isn't a disease or isn't going to affect your life when you're young and your bones don't hurt, but your body will catch up to you. Starting to struggle with activities I like feeling comfortable in clothes and on airplanes. I wonder how big this person is. That'd be interesting to see, because I mean, airplane seats aren't fucking comfortable. I flew to Vegas in April to get married, and I am still big. I had tons of room left in my seatbelt and my chair, but when I went to Florida a couple years before, when I was 70 pounds heavier, it was uncomfortable. But the most uncomfortable thing is the leg space. You know, I'm neurodivergent. I can't sit like a regular person, so I gotta keep moving and fidgeting. Okay, enough about me having loose screws. But those reasons may strike you as selfish, especially the last two. Solidarity and industry level inclusiveness would be better than personally opting out of the struggle. This is mental gymnastics. Imagine having to say this because you want to lose weight, because people in the fat acceptance community are dictators about what everyone else does with their body. I mean, I don't blame them, because I was scared to talk about losing weight when I left the fat acceptance community. It's actually like almost the 1-year anniversary of when I got canceled, because I talked about wanting to lose weight in my relationship with Food and Ship. But it's just crazy, because I mean, I remember being in this position, like feeling like a bad person because you want to lose weight. Imagine being in the 2000s and saying that. Like, I feel like I'm gonna be a bad person if I lose weight, because other fat people are gonna be mad at me. It's like, everyone in their right mind would want to lose weight and have a healthier, happier life. But now, in this day and age where everyone's fucking fat, where it is so normal to be obese, it is bad, or people feel ashamed that they have the need to lose weight. The world is literally like ass backwards right now. It's literally insane. It is selfish to lose weight because you are taking care of yourself. You are putting yourself first. And that is not a bad thing. You should want to take care of yourself over the opinion of strangers on the internet. Do what is best for you. Solidarity and industry level inclusiveness would be better. Even if the world was so inclusive, even if the fucking airplane seats were fucking 5 feet wide each, that will not change the fact that being obese, it hurts, it makes you tired, it fucks with your hormones, it makes you inflamed, it is a huge risk factor for so many disorders and diseases, it makes your joints hurt, it's harder to breathe, on and on and on, a million different medical reasons. No matter how inclusive the world could be, it will not stop the fact that being obese is a disease and makes your life harder. You know, so they said solidarity and industry level inclusiveness would be better than personally opting out of the struggle. They feel bad because they no longer want to struggle. You see how like guilty the fat acceptance community makes people feel? I felt guilty for wanting to lose weight too, because I thought it'd make me a bad person, when it's literally just the right thing to do for yourself, for your loved one, for society, for the healthcare industry, for tax purposes. Like, there is so many reasons why it's good to lose weight. All right, last page. All I can say is, I don't feel like your enemy. I'm still committed to fat liberation. That's what I said too when I first left the fat acceptance community. When I first left the fat acceptance community, I was like, I don't care what other people do with their body. Like, I'm just talking about myself. Like, it's just about me. Like, you can do whatever you want. And of course, like, I still feel that to a point, because I don't have enough physical and mental energy to care about what other people do with their weight. But I still hope that every obese, fat, overweight person loses weight, because it is not good to be overweight. And I think once this person is out of the fat acceptance community for a little bit, then they will probably join our cause. Join the anti-fat acceptance community. When the rose-tinted glasses come off, you'll start to see things a little bit differently. Especially after you lose weight and realize how horrible you were feeling, and how people in the community push that onto other people, making them compliant and feel like horseshit. I'll probably still always be fat, at least according to the BMI. I know, it's trash. Derp. Yeah, I mean, that's still like a feeling that I struggle with personally. I know people were kind of sad when I said that on my videos, but I've been overweight or obese a majority of my life. I was probably like a normal weight when I was like 1 to 4 maybe. But to think of being an actual normal BMI is just a very surreal feeling. But I hope one day I can still do it, and, you know, 1 pound at a time. Technically, when I get to 175, I'll be considered overweight and not obese, so let's just get to overweight first, and then we can worry about the normal. But I've chosen to try to make things easier for myself, both physically and socially, and I have to live with that decision. Exactly. You have to live in this meat sack every single day. People in the fat acceptance community don't have to live your life. They do not reside inside your body. So if you decide to lose weight because you are so uncomfortable because of your joints, or, you know, what other medical conditions you have, or if purely because you don't like the way that you look, you have to worry about yourself and not the opinions of other people. The thing is, like, when you're in the fat acceptance community, they make you so obsessed about other people's opinions. You know, you get scared that people are going to call you a fat giant whale. There's almost like this fear mongering about like what people actually think about you as a fat person, because people in the fat acceptance community are always talking about how horrible it is to be fat, and you know, Aubrey Gordon's telling all these fucking stories that's never happened, and you know, really exaggerating the mistreatment that they get. But then on the opposite end, you're scared of what fat acceptance people will think of you if you decide to lose weight. Like, there's always someone that you can convince yourself is having an opinion about you. But at the end of the day, how you feel about yourself and the reality that you have to live in, more important than the opinion of strangers. You should care about how you feel about yourself in your appearance. You know, you should care about what your significant other feels about you, your friends and family. Of course, you know, their opinions shouldn't weigh as heavily as yours or as important as yours. But at the end of the day, you only got your fucking self. And of course, I know I have my husband and, you know, I have great friends and family, but only I live in this meat sack, so I make decisions that will benefit me, which is losing weight. Okay, I think this one is from X. Let's read this. I don't go on X or Twitter. I haven't gone on that in a million years. So it says, weirdly enough, a recent book I read with a fat character had her constantly fretting about not fitting in chairs. I might write something tonight about how to develop fat characters, cause y'all skinnies really never get it right. What do you mean your fat character is also accidentally hurting people or blopping into the furniture that can't hold them? What fat person do you know who isn't hyper aware of the space that they occupy? Y'all need to make more fat friends. Maybe I shouldn't have reacted to this because I don't really read books. Or I don't read books, I should say. I should preface that. Who was talking about this? Was it Nadia? I think Nadia, she recently made a video and it was this person talking about how they need to have like more fat people in fanfics. It was very hilarious because people are just so delusional.
I get truly off when a fanfiction is labeled as X-reader, which implies that the fic is supposed to be inclusive of anybody reading it, and then that fic has mentions of the reader character being lifted up very easily, having a small waist, because I know you were picturing a fucking stick-thin girl when you write that.
So someone quote tweeted this and says, as if we don't analyze every fucking chair we sit in to work out if we will fit in or not. I don't know. To me, when someone writes something, a fictional piece, it's always like a character. It's not just like a representation of who they are, or there's like a theme, you know, whether that's like a piece based on a historical time or a fiction book is fiction. And if you want to read stories about fat people, then find a fat author. Someone says, right, like, I don't be waiting for slightly less fat people to test them out right before I do. Let's see what the comments have to say, because I don't got nothing to say. Everything is always too small for them. They will never admit that they are too big for furniture and clothing and that it's their own fault. Someone else says, you know, I can't say I have ever had to consider whether or not some random chair would collapse under my weight. It honestly would never occur to me to add that in when writing a character. It seems really unfortunate that this is a regular part of their daily life. If only there was something they could do about it. Same, and I consider myself a pretty large person overall, 6'1" and 265 pounds, and I've never given a second thought to if a chair could hold my ass. The only time I ever notice myself thinking about not fitting somewhere is on an airplane because I have gorilla arms and shoulders and some extra fat. Even there, I can stay in the borders of my seat and not be able to get all over the next guy. Alright, this will be the last one, I think. I have no idea where this is posted. It looks like it was fucking made in some weird forum. So this one says, what is it, big bones or burritos? She'll never figure, we may never find out, courtesy of a BuzzFeeder. So is this an article on BuzzFeed then? I don't know. I graduated high school in 1994. The size culture of the 90s nearly did me in. I had a little bit of stomach, just a small pooch, and wore a junior size 14-16. I would beg to differ that it was more than a small pooch if you wore a size 15-16. And I know like the 90s had a little bit more smaller sizing, but you would probably still be like, correct me if I'm wrong, I was born in 97, so I wasn't wearing women's clothes back then, but you were probably still like a size 12-14 maybe. I would get mooed at when I walked campus during class changes. I wonder if that happened regularly or if it only happened once and they're kind of exaggerating. Because I know people back then, in that time range, even to the early 2000s, people would be very harsh, but also kids are jackasses. I'm sorry if they did do this all the time, but I don't know if I believe that they did it all the time. After high school, I tried to enter the military, but was told for my height I had to get below 145 pounds. I got to 154 and was at a size 9 when my doctor told me to stop because I was killing myself. I wonder if they were extremely restricting themselves and they lost a bunch of weight in a short amount of time, because I don't feel like a doctor would say like that you're killing yourself from losing weight and being at a healthy weight, because there wasn't like health at every size in the 90s. Doctors probably still cared about people's weight. My upper body looked like a skeleton. I had no breasts and you could see my hip bones. I wonder how tall they were. I had to get below 145. Let's look at the BMI for women. So I assume that they had to get in a healthy weight range. 145 would be the high end. So this is a 24% BMI for 5'5". That would be overweight for anyone lower than 5'5". So if they're 5'4", 5'3", 5'2", everything, that would be considered overweight. And that wouldn't be considered underweight until they were about 6'2". So I feel like that's a reasonable weight if you were an average size woman. I still had a big old butt. I had to have a full body x-ray for a procedure, and they had to take 2 x-rays to get both sides of my hip bones. I'm really big boned. Well, is your hips this big that you can't fit into an x-ray machine? So you're like this? You're like a fucking obtuse triangle? I'm really big boned. Cartman and I also struggle with that. But even then, so thin I was dying. I was still considered fat by the world and myself. After that, I gave up on the military and went to college, and I gained my freshman 15 and I was at 165. Gwen got pregnant and gained 80 more. Okay, so what are they at? I've never been pregnant, so I'm not even gonna talk about weight gain or anything like that. So when they were pregnant, they were 245, allegedly. Since I had my daughter 27 years ago, this person has to be like mid-40s, 50s. Since I had my daughter 27 years ago, I have been everywhere between 230 to 400 pounds. Okay, girl, that's more than fucking big bones. A skeleton does not weigh that much. Okay, let's Google that actually. A living adult skeleton typically weighs between 22 to 26 pounds, which is about 14% of the total body weight. You're not big boned. You're fat. You're eating too much. Currently, I am at 299. Not 300, 299. But I'm happy with myself, knowing that I eat healthily, I stay busy, and I stop trying to impress others. Well, seems like you're still trying to impress others if you're posting this story. I am overweight. No, you're obese. And we still don't have a height. I mean, no matter your height, 300 pounds is still obese, but, you know, if she's like 5 foot flat, 300 pounds is fucking nuts. I'm overweight. Oh well, that is for me to deal with. If you don't like it, then move on. I fat shamed myself for years, so your opinion of me does not matter. If people's opinion doesn't matter, then why'd you make this post? I wonder, did this person just write a fucking story for no reason then? Oh, this person says in the comments, if she was a 15, 16 in 1994, she was nowhere near skinny. I am 5'9.5", and at the same time period, I was active duty military, wore a size 11, 12, and weighed 142 pounds. My weight maximum in the military was 163 pounds. If she had to weigh less than 145, she was significantly shorter than I am and was nowhere near as skinny as she makes out, especially at 154 pounds. She's full of shit. Making weight for military service is just being in the healthy BMI range. It's not some especially tough standard where you have to be super lean. Someone replied to that, says, yes, this is one of the reasons I always side-eyed stories where the person claimed they used to be skinny and miserable, but are now supposedly so much happier being obese. So much of what they claim is skinny is completely warped and skewed. Yeah. My skinny when I was in high school, I was technically still overweight. When I was a senior in high school, I was like 175, and then like the years before that I was a little bit lighter, but still technically overweight according to the BMI. The measurements of a 15-16 junior size pretty much dispel the little pooch claim and slice throughout with a thick slather of cope and delusion. Highest healthiest weight is 150, and at that weight I was borderlining on chubby. Sounds like the original poster and I have similar heights. So I HH by skeleton at all? I don't know what that means. I don't start looking truly skinny until 115, and even then I'm still within healthy weight range. I know everyone carries their weight differently, but in general, if you're in the healthy range, it's unlikely your body will look skeletal. Yeah, to look actually like a skeleton, like, you gotta be super actually low weight, because even if you are skinny, like, you still have a little bit of fat, you have muscle, like, there are things covering your skeleton, so unless you are severely underweight, you're not gonna look like a fucking skeleton. You can see my hip bones, and for anyone who doesn't carry most of their weight in their hips, there's nothing wrong with that. My hip bones are more visible, and I'm smack dab in the middle of the healthy BMI, and my weight to height ratio ranges nowhere near wasting away. Depending on your build, I know everyone has like different shapes and stuff. Like, I'm more bottom heavy, I would say. According to my proportion, I'm like hourglass shape, but like all of my weight is, you probably can't tell. I'm wearing black, so I look so skinny, but like all of my fucking weight is like, well, I'm wearing tights that have tummy control too, but it's like all of my fucking weight is like right here. Right here. I got pretty big thighs too, but it's like all of my weight is right here. So if she's someone that was like top heavy and like held all of her weight here, yeah, it'd be easier for your hip bones to pop out because like all your fat is somewhere else. A couple of days ago, I was looking at myself and my collarbones are sticking out. I'm so skinny. I looked like a skeleton. This is probably what her hip bone looked like. I'm 200 pounds and you can start to see my collarbone. I'm not withering away. I'm nowhere near killing myself. I was more near killing myself when I was 272 pounds, not now. And someone else commented, I mean, I do carry most of my weight in my hips and my ass. It's still okay to see some hip bones and ribs and collarbones and waist bones and some knobs of the spine sometimes. We're not meant to be protruding bones painfully covered by just skin, but it's also not bad to be able to see or observe bone and muscle structure. I don't know where the idea that our body types should be hidden or obscured by a cushiony layer of fat at all times comes from, but it's a pretty real popular straw man in fat acceptance spaces. Human in peak physical shape at the height or their performance ability usually have some sort of visible, discernible bone and sinew? I don't know what that is. Gotta use Miss Google.
Sinew.
Sinew, a piece of tough fibrous tissue uniting muscle to the bone, a tendon or ligament. People were saying this here in girl worlds. Feudy Booty, Chantal, she like stole this stray cat from its mother, and she's like, oh, this cat is fucking malnourished. You can see its ribs, and it's like, just because a baby cat you can see their ribs doesn't mean that they're malnourished. Like, animals, and including humans, we shouldn't just be fucking giant round balloons. Like, it's fine to see our bones. My husband just got home, so I need to end this rant. And I'm sure I've already bitched long enough. All of my videos are way too long. Let me know your opinions down below. I would love to know what you think. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like this video. And if you enjoy me, consider subscribing. I would love to have you back again. I hope you have a great day. Take care. Peace.